Hello everybody, welcome to the Sound Test Room. Today we are taking a look at Roland Zenbeats and paying particular attention to the SampleVerse instrument. So, want to add a SampleVerse to start with, click on a little plus icon, hit instrument track, choose SampleVerse, and you get this default patch. SampleVerse is really good. It can play samples, it has oscillators, it has an arpeggiator, it has a reverb, you can see here, right? First of all, I'm going to set this to an initial patch. So you click on your patches here, and then you scroll around until you find init, which will be around here somewhere. There it is, init, and just enter this, and it'll load that preset for us, and it gives us the kind of basic saw wave. So this is your arpeggiator, filter, and reverb. This is your play screen. We're going to concentrate mainly on the edit screen. And first of all, you will see you have an arpeggiator, an LFO, an oscillator, and a main control for your gain, etc., etc. If we open the oscillator here, you will see it says saw. We have a basic saw wave. We can go up and down in octaves. We can switch velocity off, so it's just fixed velocity, or we can have it velocity sensitive. We can control our panning here, and then you have all sorts of different controls. So you could go into your amp envelope and make it. Let's boost the volume a little bit here at the top. Okay, then you have a modulation envelope as well. And then you have a filter, and the filter by default will be turned off. Turn it on. You have a saturation. Yeah, so basically they're your kind of controls for your synth. Now the cool thing is you can add another 5 oscillators per oscillator, and you can add more oscillators, right? So you can go absolutely bonkers just with the oscillators, not even with this. You haven't even looked at the sampler yet. Right, okay, so for example, let's add in a square. Let's add in a triangle. We've added another source, so I'm just going to change that to a triangle. And now you can change the pitch of each of these oscillators. For example, we could take the triangle up an octave. You won't really hear it much, but we could go to our square and take that down. We could maybe leave our saw where it is. And then you can also remove oscillators like this. Let's remove our saw and stick with our square. Let's take that up an octave. Now, while we're here, let's take a look at the modulation envelope. There's our mod envelope, right? So, for example, if we want to maybe, if we go back to our main page here where we can detune and stuff and set things like this. If we want to modulate the, I don't know, for example, the panning with the modulation envelope, we click underneath here where there's a little dot, and this is where we set our modulation routines, whether it's LFO or mod. But let's set that to the modulation envelope, right? See, if I do this, let's have the release go on. Okay, you can switch that off, or you can go into your, if we look at our, what we've just done, our panning, go back to our main page here and you'll see if we click on this, it's set to our mod envelope. If we click on this, we can choose to remove that completely. Now this makes, panning would make more sense obviously with an LFO, but just to show you, for example, you could do it with the filter. you could assign this to the mod envelope, which would make a lot more sense. If I click on this, choose mod envelope, switch mod envelope back on, of course. Give the filter something to do. So now we've applied modulation envelope to that. And like I said, anytime you can go back to your filter and go, right, okay, well, I'm going to remove it from the mod envelope and I'm just going to completely delete that modulation source. Right, okie dokie. Now, let's bring this back up so we can hear it. So that's... yeah, the basic your oscillator controls. You can add as many oscillators as you want. LFO, let's look at LFO. Let's open the LFO and let's assign, let's go down to our oscillator here, main, and let's assign the pan control to the LFO. So you click on this, click LFO1, and now depending on what the LFO doing, it is now modulating your panning position, okay? Now this gain, this is the amount, turn this down, you're going to get no modulation going through. And this is how you can control the modulation amount. So it's called gain. So this is your speed. You're quantizing at the moment, but you can switch that off. Open this, you can open an LFO, save an LFO, save an LFO as, or to remove the LFO completely from the box. Now, this is where it gets cool, right? Okay, let's open up this. Let's add in an LFO, okay? So what do we want to start with? The sine wave LFO. Fine, done deal. And our modulation is back magically. It's awesome. Right, so if we open this again and we look at our main, we can see the LFO is still assigned. Let's click on this, click LFO, and just remove the modulation. Okay, so let's close oscillator 1 and look at the modules. So we can add in another oscillator like this and choose square. So we've got 2 oscillators now. And again, this oscillator can have up to 5 oscillators in it. So you get the idea, right? We can go absolutely bonkers. Bonkers, I tell you, bonkers. Let's add in a sample bank. Now, clicking on this will open the samples available that you have in Zenbeats, whether you have them all or you have a few packs. You can just choose any of these samples to use, and then let's say, for instance, I don't know, this broken sine. Click on this and it adds your sample bank. Let's turn our oscillators off, and here's our broken sine. Let's open up our sample bank now and see what's going on. Right, basically you have the same controls. You have a filter that you can saturate, etc., all that other cool stuff. Modulation envelope, the same. An amp envelope. Okay. And you can send modulation from anything that you have in SampleVerse you've added as a, as things. Like I said, like with the oscillators, you can add as many of these things as you like. We can also obviously just dead easily remove the oscillator from the equation. Again, with this one, you're not limited. You can go in here and just remove it. And now you've just left with your sample bank. If we go back to play and switch reverb on, minute. Let's go with the filter. So it's a different filter, yeah. You can tap on here again and kind of just replace the sample, but be aware it adds another sample bank. So now don't worry about changes in volume as well, because when you finish your patch and you're happy, you can always add a limiter or a compressor or something. Okay, so like for example, with this one, we can change the sample. We could go, right, okay, when you, right, it's important to know what's going on. Right, open this, and then you've got amp envelope, mod envelope, filter, and the sample bank. Here is where you can choose another sample, or you can click on this menu here to expand it to see the sample. And this is where you can set the loop start and the loop point. So this is your loop start, for example. And if we kind of just do this. And you can see the sample it's used here. So that's like just adding one from the preset menu. Well, lots of stuff is set up for you, etc. Let's add another module. Let's switch that one off as well. So we've got nothing. Let's add in a import audio file. Excellent. So I am going to go to my T7 hard drive and find some samples. So I'm going to look in this folder here, look in instruments, and maybe look inside of whatever we've got going on here. Look, we'll just stick with this kind of piano, and we'll just choose one of these pianos. These are all in C, so click on this and it opens it into a new sample bank, and here it is. Let's open up and see what's going on. So now we've got a completely playable instrument. And we can move it up and down in octaves, of course. The good thing is, right, that we can now bring back in our other samples, sample banks, or we could say, well, I don't really want this one. I'm going to open it up. I'm just going to get rid of this one. Remove sample bank. I'm going to add in another LFO. We'll put a square one in there just for fun. You can change all this, of course. You can see the LFOs are always running. Now, without bothering with the LFOs, because you know you assign them, basically you click on here and you go, right, I want to assign my LFO to this, or you want to go to your filter, I want to assign it to the, it's not switched on, but let's just drive this. But this one, let's click on here. No, let's open this sample bank. Let me solo this one so I can hear it. It's quiet, isn't it? Let's see what I've done here. Let's lower this one. Let's bring this one back. Go back to main, up this one. Okay, cool. Right. Okay, let's close the banks up and take a look at the arpeggiator. Right, it's really way more than an arpeggiator, to be fair. You have this grid here. You can change the grid size. You get the idea, right? You can change the length in beats. So like 4 beats would be half the size. This is stuff that you can mess around with, obviously, to get what you want. Now, if I add in here some of these kind of points, we can change the velocity of them as well. So I'm just going to add a bunch in. I'm going to switch it on, obviously. And now I'm just going to play one note. Let's turn it down a little bit as well. So I'm playing one note on my keyboard. I'm going to play chord. Nothing's happening, right? Another chord. You can see the note I'm playing. These are the notes in the order that you're gonna play them, sort of thing. So this will be the second note, this will be the fourth. So if I'm playing, well, I haven't even got one for 3. So let's do this. I'm gonna play one note. I'm gonna play 2. Watch this. Put that there as well. I'm gonna play 3 notes now. This one. If I play a 4th, so I'm holding down 4 notes now. And if I hold a 5th note down, that's super cool, right? But you also have tons of pre-made patches for you. So loads and loads of them. Some of them are quite complex. And if, like, again, depending on what you have installed, for example. Okay, so that's the arpeggiator. You've seen the LFOs, how they work, whatever you want to assign to something. It's really quite easy to assign an LFO to. Open up, find out what you'd like to assign your LFO to. Maybe this one. Let's set this back to kind of, it's very difficult to set this. It's still out of tune. But anyway, I'm going to assign this to LFO2, which we know is a square because that's what we selected. But we can go in and change this. And again, to remove an LFO from a point, we just click on it, choose LFO2, and we can either switch it off, or we can bin it completely, or we can go with our, say this has gone really bad now, I'm just going to remove that sample bank, and now I'm just back left with this one. And I'm going to say, right, okay, I'm going to bin that one as well, and make another quick sample. So I've got no modules that will generate sound here at the moment. And in fact, just to keep things clean, let's open this LFO and remove the LFO as well. Let's just go in here, add in import an audio file. I will choose another one from somewhere, just to show you. It doesn't have to be instruments, of course. It could be, let's see, it could be just some samples. Let's go and have a look at what's going on in sample, my samples here. Maybe I'm going to look at, what's this? I don't know, ambient effects. I'll just pick one and load it in, and it's going to import it. And let's have a look at it here. Open this. There it is. I can mess around with it exactly the same way. It's awesome stuff. let's open this up here so we can see the sample. Let's switch loop on. And this is our loop point now, so let's make it bigger. And as you can choose the loop start and end here, so now we've got like a little kind of pad thing going on. It might sound better if it's a couple of octaves lower. So to that you could add maybe, let's look in the main as well. Let's just have a look at what goes on in the main. So in the main, you have your reverb and your filter, right? So reverb, let's turn that on. Let's put it in the mix. Let's turn the input gain up a bit. Then you have a filter, which is also off. And I think this, yeah, is what relates to what's going on inside the edit screen here. So you get the idea, right? It's really, really quite powerful. You can take your time building stuff up. So for example, say, oh, I like that, Tanner. I know all this stuff is recorded in C, by the way, so it's going to work. But if I could, I might say now, well, okay, I'm going to close the main at a minute. I'm going to add a module. I'm going to import another audio file. Maybe not something quite so drastic. I'll just maybe have a look at another instrument sound, maybe another synth sound. I can bring something in from this pack here. Let me turn this one off. And this is the synth sound I've just imported, right? So now, a mixture of both of those. And we've got ourselves a cool little patch going on, right? You can see how powerful it can be. It's not like kind of, you know, it's not like such kind of like dead basic. It's very involved when you start to consider how many modules you could add to this thing, you know. I mean, I honestly don't know if there's a limit. There probably is a limit. We could add an LFO. We could add another, well, can't add more than 3. Let's add another LFO, see what happens. Can't add no more. So it looks like you can have 3 of everything, which, to be fair, is pretty good. I'm guessing it's the same for oscillators. Let's add an oscillator, square. Let's add an oscillator. So, yeah, we can add in 3 of everything. Well, I think that's pretty darn good. That would be pretty... Whoa, that's a bit loud. That would be pretty powerful, I think. Let's turn this right down and just see. So that's kind of... Yeah, that's everything playing. Guys, thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please drag the like, subscribe to the channel, consider becoming a Patreon. And I will see you guys later. Roland Zenbeats, and a good look at SampleVerse and the cool stuff you can do. Bless you all. Thank you very much. I will see you later. Ta-ra.